Hello, we are going to talk about portfolio evaluation in this process. Portfolio evaluation is the last step in the process of portfolio management. The process of portfolio management consists of several steps. You start with analyzing the portfolio, making the actual investment. Once the actual investment is over, then you try to evaluate. When you try to evaluate, you're trying to find out whether what you have done is correct or not. So you try to find out whether your aim of maximizing returns and minimizing risk has been achieved. It involves actually two functions. One, you're measuring the returns that your portfolio has returned during the holding period. When you say holding period, you might have invested during January. That entire year you hold the security, and during the year end you're trying to measure whether you have earned the returns, and you evaluate it. What do you evaluate? You try to find out whether the performance was superior or inferior. That means you might have expected a return of 8%. You're trying to find out whether that 8% was achieved or not. Have you achieved a superior of 10% or have you achieved a returns of only 6%? So we are doing two things. One, we are measuring the returns, and then you're comparing it whether with the standard. You're seeing whether it is less than the standard or higher than the standard. Now, how do you do it? There are different methods that are involved. The major three methods are Sharpe's measure, Trainer's measure, and Jensen's measure. First, let's see the Sharpe's index. So here the formula is returns on portfolio minus risk-free return by standard deviation of portfolio. Return on portfolio means it is a returns on what you have invested. So it is the average return on portfolio or the average returns on what is your investment. Then you have a new term called as RF, that is called as the risk-free return. Generally, what does risk-free return mean? Means any investment in government securities. Normally it does not involve any risk, so that is why it's called as risk-free return. In the problem, sometimes this risk-free return may not be given. It will be written returns from government securities. That can be safely assumed as the RF value, and it is divided by standard deviation of the portfolio. Standard deviation of portfolio measures the risk. We have seen several sums on that. So standard deviation is what is actually measuring the risk of that entire portfolio. So three things we are using. You're using the returns of the portfolio, risk of the portfolio, and the risk-free returns. So this part RP minus RF is otherwise called as reward. Why is it called as a reward? Is suppose you are getting a return of your return on the portfolio is 10%. If you have invested in a government security, you might have received only 4%. So this difference is otherwise called as the reward that you are getting for taking the risk, the higher risk. When you when you invest in some other portfolio, there is a higher risk involved. So that reward for taking that higher risk is the RP minus RF value. So knowing the formula, you try to find out what is the answer. If it is less than 1, it is not a good performance. Actually, your portfolio has not performed very well in relation to the risk-free return. So there are different values. When it is higher than 3, then that means your investment has done really very good. Now coming to the problem, this is a very direct problem. You are just given two investment options, and they are asked to find out which is the better one using the Sharpe's ratio. So portfolio return, as I said here, this becomes the return on the portfolio. This is the returns from the risk-free investment, and this is the standard deviation of the portfolio. So this is directly given. So you write the formula, substitute the values, and find the values. Here, if you see 2 is a higher value and it is considered to be better. When it is less than 1, it is not a good investment. That means the investment that you have made has really not performed so well. That is what is the evaluation decision that you can make. So this is better. So investment 1 is a wise decision. It is just another example, the same thing, the average return that is on the portfolio, standard deviation on the portfolio is given, and the risk-free return is given. So write clearly what are the values that are there, write RP, then this is the standard deviation of the portfolio and this is the risk-free return. And substitute in the formula, find out if both are positive, then which has a higher value is said to be the better performer. This is the Sharpe's index. Next we come to the Trainer's index. Trainer's index, if you see, the numerator remains the same. It is only the denominator that is changing here. The denominator is, we are measuring only the beta value of the portfolio. What is beta? It is the systematic risk. So only systematic risk is considered. You are using the Trainer's index. So again, the values, the variables are interpreted the same way. So RP is return on portfolio, RF is risk-free return, and that is otherwise called as the reward. So this part alone is called as the reward, and beta, it is otherwise called as the systematic risk. Similarly, you have the same direct values that are given. You're given the risk, you're given the return, you're given the risk-free return, and you're given the beta. Instead of earlier problem, you were given standard deviation. Here it is given as a beta value. So substitute the beta value and find the higher value. So here if you see, A is performed better. So that is the Trainer's index. Now you should definitely know the difference between the Sharpe's index and the Trainer's index. So Sharpe's index considers only single investment at a time, whereas when you use Trainer's index, you can consider several portfolio simultaneously. And from the formula itself, you can see it considers only this Sharpe's index considers the total risk. Here only the systematic risk or the beta value alone is considered. So when you consider the total risk, even if you diversify it, there is no use. So it is not diversifiable. Whereas when you diversify, this beta value can be reduced. So portfolio is diversifiable. Then it is a reward to variability model. It is a reward to volatility model. So what we are telling, reward was the, as I told you earlier itself, what is reward? So that is actually the return on portfolio minus the risk-free return. That is what is a reward. So it is a reward to variability. This is a total variability. Here it is a reward, just arriving at it from the formula, reward to the beta value, that is the volatility. When you say volatility, it means how the particular security is performing in relation to the market. When you did calculation of beta values and all that, you always had the stock values and you had the NSE or market index. So you're comparing this with this. So that is why it talks about volatility. How changeable is your stock in relation to the total index value. So the key points here, please remember, it is single portfolio, it is several portfolio, this is total, this is only the systematic risk. You cannot diversify, it can diversify, it is to reward to variability, this is volatility. Please don't interchange these values and write this is variability, this is volatility. Next one, we have the Jensen's model. Jensen's model has a little bit of a variation. So you are finding out the return of the portfolio. You have the beta of the portfolio. It is otherwise called as the systematic risk. Then you have the average return on market portfolio. This is the market portfolio return. And this is the actual portfolio return minus risk-free return. There is one small variation. If they are giving forecasting ability in the problem, the forecasting ability of a manager is also given, then the same formula you are adding this alpha also along with it. So here it considers both the alpha and the beta value. The Jensen model is comparatively better than other models in that respect. So this final model, Jensen model, is based on the CAPM model. CAPM model we have already seen. So because it considers an individual's ability also, his knowledge, his decisions and his logical interpretations are also seen. So based on his judgment, you can receive a higher or a lower return. Okay, let's see a problem on the Jensen's model. Unlike the previous two models, here it involves two calculations. First, you have to estimate the return and then you will compare it with the actual. Here, what is given is the actual returns on the portfolio is given. So initially, you will not consider this. First, you will try to find an estimate. What should be the return on the portfolio? So that is this formula. So what is equal to return on the portfolio should have been this one, risk-free return. In this problem, risk-free return is not given directly, it is given as return on government security. So this is the risk-free return. So risk-free return is equal to 10 plus next one, what's the problem that what is the value that is given, plus beta value, beta of the portfolio. So beta of the portfolio is 1.2. don't get confused with this value, this is beta of the market. So beta of the portfolio 1.2 into returns in the market. So what has the market return been? So R of M, clearly see whether it is R of M or R of P. So R of M, returns of the market. So this is RM, returns of the market. This is beta of the market, returns of the market. Here it is given. So returns of the market is 16 minus, again the risk-free return is 10 into what is given is beta of the portfolio. So beta of the portfolio we have already multiplied into 1.2. So this actually should have come here. So that value is 17.2. I repeat, here it is a risk-free return plus it is the beta of the portfolio, BP, it is beta of portfolio return is 1.2. then it is return of the market is 16 minus you have the risk-free return which is 10%. Similarly, you do the calculation for everything. Now what we have done is we have done only the estimate. We have not touched upon this at all. So now this is what should be the ideal one. Then you try to compare within what is the ideal and what has actually been achieved. So the thing is you will deduct actual minus the estimate. A comes before. Don't interchange and write. Then the values may be different, the positive negative values will differ. So what is the actual? It is 18%. What was expected is 17.2. so there is a difference of 0.82. so actually you have earned more than what is the estimate. So everywhere actually you have earned more. Which has earned the highest is portfolio 3 has earned highest. So this you can also tell it as the CAPM model. So this is a better portfolio which is giving higher returns than what was actually estimated. The same model, previous one we had beta and returns written this way. Here it is written this way, and you have 4 portfolios now, 1 2 3 4. And to help you understand the how different models vary, all 3 models are done, and under each one they try to find out which is the better one. So if you see, Trainers and Jensen almost gives the same value because we are considering the beta, whereas in Sharpe's model we are considering the total risk. So it has a different value, and it shows a different portfolio as the best one. So if you see here, this one you have it as the beta of the portfolio, right? Clearly this is the beta of the portfolio, this is returns of the portfolio, this is again standard deviation of the portfolio, this is the risk-free return, and this is the returns of the market. This gains importance when you do this Jensen's model, the 12%. Otherwise you don't use that anywhere here. So based on that, why it differs in values? Because of the total standard deviation that you are taking here. So here again you find the difference between actual and estimate in the Jensen's model. Another way of doing Jensen's model is ranking Jensen model. Sometimes they will give just the alpha and the beta value. Then simply divide alpha by beta. Do not interchange the values. It is alpha by beta. A comes first, B next. So alpha by beta. and then find out which has the highest value. So portfolio D has the highest value, so this is the better solution. So this is quite a simple one. Only thing, be careful of writing the correct formula here. So next problem, we have the Jensen model, but with one change, that is they are including the predictive ability of the manager also. So when you do the problem, first identify clearly, write there clearly what it is, RM or RP. This is the portfolio return. So RP. So for each one, what is the returns? Next one is the portfolio standard deviation. So standard deviation of the portfolio. Then it is the beta of the portfolio. Then this one is risk-free return. RF is a subscript actually. So having identified all this, since it includes the ability of the fund management, it includes alpha also. So RP actually is directly given here. 25.38 it is given here. You only alpha is value is not given, so you find the alpha value. So here when I say B of P, it actually says beta of the portfolio. So you find the alpha of the portfolio, substitute in the second formula, that is the alpha minus beta value, and then rank it according to the final answer. Whichever is the highest gains priority. So this is considered as the best portfolio. So we have seen three methods of evaluation. First one takes only total standard deviation. Next one takes only the beta. Next, the first one takes total standard deviation, second one takes beta, then the third one talks about the actual minus the estimate. And you also have one more formula in this, you have alpha by beta. Thank you.